ongoing breaking news tonight out of Indiana.
Two girls walking on a trail.
The plan was to come here, have some fun, take some pictures.
Confronted on a bridge.
A killer on the loose after two teenage girls go hiking in the woods and are found murdered.
A chilling video captured by the girls shows their likely killer and his voice. But 4 years later, the haunting mystery still remains. Who did this?
I know that voice. Who is that?
The case that rocked a small town, grabbed national headlines, and had millions downloading the hit podcast Down the Hill. Now, HLN returns to Delphi with new questions.
You think mistakes were made?
Unprecedented access.
Do you have his DNA?
Exclusive interviews.
It's still a very open case.
Investigators need your help right now in finding justice.
To the killer, we believe you are hiding in plain sight, and you want to know what we know.
The Blockbuster podcast comes to television. This is Down the Hill.
And one day, you will.
The Delphi Murders.
I was in the teacher's lounge hiding because why were you in the teacher? Because I was playing hide and seek with a friend and I didn't know it was a teacher round.
I can close my eyes and I can see him laughing and joking and cutting up like two young girls do probably. And then the world's about to change. Man. You know, and then what occurred right down there is just beyond evil, beyond what the human mind can understand.
Two 13-year-old friends.
They were dropped off, they were going to be picked up.
Two girls were reported missing.
They were supposed to meet a family member to be picked up. The girls never showed up.
Delphi, Indiana, a small historical town that was once the epitome of the innocence of Middle America, where neighbors knew neighbors and parents would allow their children to play on the streets alone, worry-free. But those days are long gone. Barbara McDonald and Drew Iden are the hosts of the HLN podcast Down the Hill, and they've returned to Delphi because the mystery that grips this town consumes them. We know that Liberty German and her close friend Abigail Williams took a walk across an abandoned railroad bridge one February afternoon. From there, it gets very murky.
Play the clip, please.
With facts and evidence clouded by rumors and theories. There is a palpable anxiety here. So many unanswered questions, and one chilling reality. It could happen again. We start with Libby's big sister, Kelsey.
All right, everybody good? All right, Kelsey, so take us through that morning.
So that morning, I actually slept in. The girls were up already. I was in the bathroom getting ready to go to my boyfriend's before work.
Because Delphi Community Schools were not in session on this particular Monday, Kelsey's sister Libby and her friend Abby had a sleepover.
I very much remember her opening the door really wide, and she's like, "Hey, Kels, do you want to go to Highbridge today?"
Kelsey had made other plans, but she agreed to take the girls to the bridge. Her father, Derek, would be in charge of picking them up later.
So when we left, we turned Heathens by 21 Pilots up really loud. We were singing to it, but we got there pretty quick, it felt like. And I made sure they both had the sweatshirts that I told them to take. And I told Libby I loved her, and I watched them walk away.
That was the last time Kelsey would see Abby or her sister Libby ever again. Kelsey and Libby at the time had been living with their grandparents, Mike and Becky Patty. I talked with Becky at their home.
How often did the girls go out to Highbridge?
I don't know about Abby, but the girls would go out just every so often. They would maybe be bored and decide that they wanted to do a photo shoot. But that was just something they enjoyed once in a while to go out there and do.
And you were okay with that?
Yeah, There's nothing else here in Delphi for them to do. Would I rather them be out on a public park, trailway, and walking and getting some exercise than sitting in front of the TV or on a game box or something? Most certainly.
The Monon High Railroad is an abandoned railroad bridge that straddles Deer Creek. It's an off-limits area adjacent to a Carroll County park called the Monon High Bridge Trail. The girls entered the park off a small county road, and at some point made it onto the bridge which abuts the park. Despite being officially off-limits to the public, the bridge is commonly visited by kids in the area. Part of its allure is its danger. The bridge stands a full 70 feet above the creek below and is in a state of disrepair. There are no railings, and the ties are rotting and some missing. It definitely requires very careful placement of your feet as you cross.
Most of the time we would go during the summer. I would absolutely not want to cross it, but I wouldn't let her go by herself. I would cross it because she wanted to. Libby wasn't scared of anything, except needles and anything that caused pain.
The far side of the bridge has no trail. The woods have taken over that part of the abandoned rail line, so kids that walk the bridge to the far end commonly discover that the excitement ends there and turn around and head back the way they came.
I don't know if Abby's ever been on the bridge before, but it could have been Abby's first time. She gets a little scared sometimes, so at that point she was probably scared, but I mean, she was probably excited.
Abby and Libby posted pictures to Snapchat and seemed to be having a good time. The Snapchat app erases pictures soon after they're viewed by friends. But at least one friend, Erica, took a screenshot on her phone. A quick, easy way to hack the app.
It was a happy photo at first. It was them having a fun day, and I didn't think anything bad of it. It was about 3:30.
Derek called me and he said, I'm here at the trails. Have you heard from Libby? And I said, well, no. And he said, I've called her several times and she's not answering.
Around 4:15-ish, my phone started ringing. It was over on the floor, charging, so I didn't hear it the first time. But then I got a second call, so I knew I really needed to go check it. And it was my grandma. She was kind of freaking out, but that was kind of normal for her, so I wasn't too worried. And I was like, no, I haven't heard from her, but I can head down to the bridge. I'll just call work and tell them I can't come in right now. So we headed down to the bridge and started searching.
Coming up, night falls and fears rise.
I remember Becky had said, Libby's afraid of the dark. And that was really the first time I considered the fact that there was something very serious.
As family members began searching for Libby and Abby on the afternoon of February 13th, there was, at first, little worry.
I wasn't super worried. It just didn't seem like too big of a deal right to begin with. I mean, they were probably all visiting with friends and lost track of time, and you just don't worry about it when you're here. It's a small town. Neither one of them had a good sense of direction, so I was positive that if they decided to wander off somewhere, that they were just lost. Because the idea that it could be anything but that just didn't make any sense. I mean, running away wasn't gonna be a thing.
My only concern was, like, is Libby lost somewhere in the woods, or did she drop her phone or something? And also that she was gonna be in a lot of trouble when we found her. But I was sure that, like, there was a logical explanation and it was just some fluke that happened. Then me and Cody crossed the bridge and we're looking in the woods and we couldn't find them anywhere. That's when I started to realize something was really wrong.
I was at work when Kelsey called me, so I clocked out, went outside, and at first I laughed because she asked me, Mom, have you seen Libby? And I'm like, what? Ha ha, you know I haven't seen her. I'm 250 miles away, I'm at work.
Carrie Timmons is the mother of Kelsey and Libby. Due to a bit of a complex family dynamic, Carrie was living and working near Lexington, Kentucky at the time. Kelsey shared the upsetting news with her mother.
She said, well, we can't find her. What do you mean you can't find her? That doesn't even make sense. Like, this isn't funny. I knew she didn't run away. Libby was not the type to want anybody to worry, you know, so I knew she didn't just run off. Everybody thought that the girls were hanging out with friends, partying, met some boys, had all these different excuses. And in the back of my mind, I kept saying that, you know, that's not true. Libby would never do anything like this.
And Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, was feeling the same way.
And I said, it's going to get dark soon, and we need to call the police.
We had received a call from dispatch that there were 2 teenage girls missing.
2 missing juveniles last seen at the High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana.
All Delphi fire units requested to be en route to the station to help with the search party.
So we sent all the personnel that we had to the Monon High Bridge area and to various areas within town. So we were up and down the streets looking for anything. We were knocking on doors and asking friends and neighbors.
I remember the one moment when Becky had said, Libby's afraid of the dark. She would not choose to be out here if something wasn't wrong. And that was really the first time I considered the fact that there was something very serious.
We had a sense of urgency. We need to find them.
And you said as you knocked on those doors and asked people, they came out and joined the search.
People began to come out and help.
Hundreds of people were out in that wooded area looking for these girls.
So in essence, the entire town that evening was searching in your own way. We had set up a command post, and I was called down to work with the city police chief, the sheriff, so that we had one central area to bring in the information and to throw out the ideas.
Our success rate in Carroll County, Indiana, as far as being able to locate missing children is a high percentage number.
So when you got the call that day that there were 2 missing girls here at the trails, what went through your mind?
Initially, I thought, okay, no problem, we'll find them.
And when did that change for you?
Later in the evening and actually after nightfall, I thought, okay, something's different about this.
It's February, so it gets dark quick. But there were people out searching all over. It was somewhat humbling, you know that people were coming out, to truly help.
It was amazing to see how many people at a drop of a hat dropped everything that they were doing and came out and searched. There was flashlights everywhere.
Everywhere. It was just like the stars in the sky,
I had contact with another department east of here. I asked them to maybe start searching Deer Creek and working this way, which is an 8-mile walk, by road, and it's even farther on the creek. So they started working in Camden, coming this way searching.
There was so much stuff going through my mind at the time that I just kind of went with it, and I was yelling her name so that she could hear me, and I hope that she did hear us searching.
I believe we were out till about 1:30 in the morning, and I finally met up with the sheriff and the city chief of police, and I said, my guys are volunteer. They have to go to work in the morning. We will do whatever you want, but I have to kind of look out for that aspect of, the volunteers. So look, we have blanketed, this area. I honestly feel like we could probably check it off and head home.
I begged them not. I said, they don't have coats. It's getting cold. They don't have clothes for this weather. And so I remember looking at one of them and saying, can they make it through the night? And they said they've got youth on their side.
Coming up, a new clue hiding on the forest floor.
I got a call, I think at 2:30 from the sheriff because the latest ping was coming back to the area of the Monon High Bridge.
This is where the girls were initially dropped off by Kelsey.
That's correct, yes.
And they walked this way?
Walked that way.
All right.
Yep.
So the temperature today is 50-ish, And you say that's very similar to the day the girls disappeared.
Yeah. Beautiful day for basically a walk for two young friends, close friends.
I mean, it's beautiful out here.
Yeah.
And there's such a peacefulness.
In the very early hours of the 14th of February, and not long after the official search had been called off for the night, Sheriff Tobe Lesenby was notified that a cell tower had picked up a signal from one of the girls' cell phones.
I got a call, I think at 2:30 from the sheriff, and they were wanting some lighting to go out and see if we could find the cell phone because the latest ping was coming back to the area of the Monon High Bridge.
Mike said they're not stopping.
A few of us went back out to help search for the cell phone, and we didn't find anything at that time.
A number of people, by their own volition, stayed up most of the night searching, but still, by sunrise, no sign of Abby or Libby.
The last known whereabouts come from this Snapchat photo.
We had people on foot walking the creek side, walking trails.
We went up Deer Creek probably 4 miles, flew down it as well, nothing.
It was really scary. I was like, what are we gonna find down here? What am I gonna see? Is there something that could have happened that I don't wanna see? We were looking all over the area, and while we were walking, we heard somebody ask what type of shoes the girls were wearing. And I asked them what it was, and they told me it was the black Nike, and they said, yeah, those were Libby's shoes.
I was preparing to be able to leave to come up and join the search party. And I was probably 4 or 5 blocks away from the gas station when my phone rang. And it was Derek.
Derek is Carrie's ex-husband and the father of Kelsey and Libby.
And he said, Carrie, they found the girls. And I had like a split second of, oh, thank God. But he didn't say anything else.
The pastor found me and asked if anybody had just come talk to me, and I said no, so we need to go upstairs. And my heart just dropped. And then my girlfriends and coworkers were all just standing visiting, and I said, we found them. And she's like, oh, thank God. And I said, no. It's all just a blur after that.
And I was hysterical. I was like primal evil just came out of me and screaming no. And I said, are they alive? And he said no. I was just hysterical. People were staring at me, and I just wanted to disappear. I wanted it to all go away. I'd pulled up on the wrong side of the gas pump. Here I was outside of the pump screaming, and why can't I get the nozzle in the thing, because it wasn't even there.
At that moment, I wanted to run across the creek and get to them. I was like, they're alive, I know they are, they have to be. And I knew that they weren't. In that moment, I was with another lady who had actually lost her brother in high school, and she just hugged me until I calmed down.
Tell me about Libby.
Was always very busy, had her hands in everything. Always wanted to make everybody laugh, wanted everyone to be happy. She was a free spirit, you know, so like nothing, she was fearless. Nothing scared her. She did everything herself, do it myself. Always so smart and so full of life, like everything. She was always happy, laughing. She was just everything. She was the glue that held everything together, honestly.
Libby and Abby grew up just minutes apart in the quiet countryside just outside downtown Delphi. Abby's grandparents, Eric and Diane Erskine, met with me on the town square.
Tell me about Abby and what she was interested in.
She was very inquisitive. and she loved the outdoors. And I can remember she was so curious about bugs. She loved to catch bugs and crickets and frogs and toads, and she'd get this little kind of a kit.
A bug box.
A bug box.
Yeah, it was a little
and
bug box.
she had like little salamanders, and she'd collect them, and of course, and then they would escape.
Abby and Libby were gone. That the community knew. But the horrific truth about how they left this world was still unknown. And next, our investigation leads us to the scene of this horrific crime. It was a warm February day in Delphi, Indiana. Good friends Abigail Williams and Liberty German had the day off from school and decided to take a hike. Their destination, an abandoned railroad bridge adjacent to a local park. The girls were supposed to be picked up that afternoon at the trailhead by Libby's dad, but they never showed up. A massive search effort was launched and stretched through the night. The next day, search crews made a dreadful discovery. The bodies of Abby and Libby were found about a quarter mile from High Bridge.
Whoa.
The property owner hasn't granted media access to the crime scene since shortly after the murders. But after spending some time with him, he allowed us to go there. However, he didn't want to talk or appear on camera.
So this is the area where the girls were found, and you can kind of see that it is sort of a bowl shape here, where if you have two bodies laying on the ground here and people are walking along the creek, they wouldn't necessarily see that. The creek is right over here, Deer Creek, and High Bridge is over in that direction about a quarter of a mile. You can't even really see it from here. We're told that a searcher used his cell phone to zoom in on an area up in here and saw the girls lying here.
When law enforcement officers first arrived here just after noon on the 14th of February, it did not take them long to come to a horrifying conclusion.
Was it obvious that foul play was involved?
Yes, it was. It was very obvious. You could tell that this was not an accident.
Somebody murdered these two girls.
The bodies were discovered about 12:15 on the 14th.
Struggling to figure out exactly what happened in this wooded area and why.
That first hour, for me, it was disbelief. But not long after that, then our instincts and our training kicked in, and we went into investigative mode.
Investigators calling the crime scene a complicated one.
With the Indiana State Police and the FBI both allocating resources in the investigation, the people of Delphi began to confront a horrible reality: that the brutal homicide of two teenage girls happened in their community. I talked to Christine Lang, Abby and Libby's former middle school teacher, about the shock that followed.
So Christine, you and I have talked a bunch of times, and you mentioned that this kind of thing doesn't happen here. Babies aren't killed.
Well, you think, man, did they slip? Did they fall off that bridge? Not one time did I really think that someone had them or had harmed them. And I don't think anyone wanted to believe really they were gone in any manner, and certainly not in the manner that they left us.
And another reality goes hand in hand with the murder of these two children. A cold-blooded killer, or killers, is likely on the loose.
I would have to say yes. I mean, we have nobody in custody at this time. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, there is somebody out there that did this horrendous crime.
They should be afraid. You're right. There is a killer on the loose. These are two young girls doing something that young girls do. And somebody found them and killed them.
Oh my God. Stop! I have a pose that I want to do. The camera. I've got like under yes.
Tell me about the immediate aftermath of this crime.
It was very sad here. People didn't smile for days. I mean, it took a long time before anybody would even smile at one another. You know, we all tried to go back to work to try and find some sort of normalcy, but it was difficult. It was quite some time.
In the days following the discovery of the bodies, the investigators were busy hunting clues in the vast area between the girls' last known location on the bridge and the place the bodies were found. But this task was proving to be a monumental challenge. Nonetheless, evidence that will shake this investigation to the core is hiding somewhere in the woods. Later, police reveal a shocking twist in the investigation.
Only a coward would do such a thing.
When investigators descended on this crime scene in mid-February of 2017, they were confronted with an arduous task.
It was in the late winter, and so there was a lot of leaves on the ground, you know, and it was warm at that time, so the snow had melted and everything was wet and very, very muddy in the area at that time. So yeah, it was, the conditions of the whole thing was not ideal, let's put it that way.
You know, you got to remember, you had 400 or 500 people that started looking for these girls the night before. So you know, we had to deal with that.
The crime scene encompassed a very large area, and its integrity had been violated by the pure magnitude of the search to find the missing girls.
A lot of tracks, cigarette butts, believe it or not, this is kind of disgusting, but you had spit, people would urinate. I mean, because they don't have time to go back, so they go hide in the woods to go to the bathroom, that kind of stuff. So we had to deal with all that. And most people don't even think of things like that. But I mean, it was just that dramatic of a crime scene.
Early in the investigation, police find a shocking new piece of evidence, and it will stun the community. Superintendent of the Indiana State Police, Doug Carter, announces the discovery.
Words tend to escape during these periods of times, and I've only had a couple of other situations in my lifetime where I'm able to stand before you and say that. Why Libby? Why Abby? Why Delphi? Because this is a classic example and a clear example that evil lives amongst us.
Superintendent Carter releases a single obscure image of a man walking on the Monon High Bridge.
Someone knows who this individual is. Is it a family member? Is it a neighbor? Or maybe that one guy that lives over at that one place that just kind of not right.
The grainy image appears to be that of a middle-aged Caucasian man, and Doug Carter makes it very clear that this man is a person of interest in the investigation.
As poor as this picture is, somebody knows. Maybe it's his jeans. Maybe it's his jacket or his sweatshirt. Maybe it's his shirt tail. Maybe it's his posture. Maybe it's the right hand in his pocket.
Carter asks for the public's help in identifying the man.
Each and every person listening, watching, or seeing this in some form, we need you.
But he does not reveal where the image came from.
It was kind of assumed that it had been captured on a trail cam. So of course, instantly everybody was thinking that there might be more on this camera.
What was that like to be here in Delphi and to see that?
I think it made it even more real. It gave people a purpose to figure out how they can help to look for this person.
Another image of the man is immediately released by investigators. It seems to have been taken within moments of the first. The man in the pictures becomes quickly known simply as Bridge Guy, and the story begins to garner widespread media attention.
So let's show this picture again.
We were flooded, with media.
Authorities have now put out a picture of a man.
And so you saw a lot of media trucks and people interviewing.
Young
so quiet.
And people just stopping and wanting to say, hey, do you want to say a few words on camera?
The girls were so young, and this is such an atrocity.
Locals just, we were all still trying to process what in the world had happened.
Double homicide investigation.
As the families are just coming to terms with their loss, the investigators release an astonishing piece of information. The photo was not pulled from a trail camera. Libby's phone had been found in the woods, and this was an image that she had captured shortly before her death.
We were in shock in a way. You don't know what you're going to do in a certain situation, and it could have been very easy for her to not do that.
As unsettling as it is that Libby may have photographed the killer in the girl's last moments alive, in some ways, it became a source of pride for her friends and family.
I was really proud of my sister that she was able to know that something was going to happen. It just reminded me how great the girls were. It was comforting to know that we had that evidence and that that was going to lead us to the answers we needed. It was also very sad to know that she knew something was going to happen. I knew she was smart. I know she is smart. And she does that kind of stuff all the time. But it was crazy to think that she was able to know before something happened that she needed to do something.
We were very proud of her. She knew something was up. She knew she had to do something. Probably didn't have service, so she thought of the next thing she could, and I don't think a lot of people do.
Both of the girls were heroes. I don't think that one would have left the other. So to me, Abby is my hero because she stayed with my sister. And I love them both for that.
Our room, it hasn't been used. It's been left. It's been turned kind of into a shrine. That's just her, you know, and the stuff all over her room, the mess, the Libby is still there. She had wanted to repaint her room. It was a lime green, and she wanted to paint it purple, and I kept saying, I don't have time right now. We'll get it painted. And finally she said, Grandma, just let me do it. And you know, she did a wonderful job. She had just finished painting it. Her paint can is still sitting there. One of the outlets doesn't have the cover on it because she didn't have it on yet, and we left it that way. That's how it was left.
Next, evidence found on Libby's phone reveals her courage. And we hear 3 words that will shake this case and Delphi to the core. And later, new questions about what police may be keeping from the public.
I'm sure viewers are thinking, why don't they release more information? People going, come on, if you know, why don't you tell us?
The clash over clues when Down the Hill continues. The town of Delphi, Indiana was founded in 1828, and it has a population of approximately 3,000 people. It sits surrounded by scenic farms and woods, and it draws in visitors for recreation on a revitalized section of the historical Wabash and Erie Canal. And the Monon High Bridge Trail was developed to further solidify Delphi as a destination for people from miles around.
It's a gem for your community.
Yeah, it's, you know, the first 10 miles that were developed a few years ago, so many people were able to go out and enjoy them. And, you know, we started to become a destination for that. And people would come here to hike and bike.
How has that changed for you after this crime?
It was probably a good year before anybody requested trail maps from me again, and we used to have requests weekly.
The Monon High Bridge Trail is now better known as the place where 2 innocent girls were killed in cold blood. And the picture of Bridge Guy cemented that notion in the minds of millions that saw the image as the story became highly publicized. Unfortunately, the blurry image could look like almost anyone and really no one, all at the same time.
Middle of Indiana, who doesn't wear jeans and work boots, who doesn't have a blue jacket and may or may not have a beard.
But authorities were preparing to offer up another astonishing piece of evidence that would send chills through the entire community. Just 7 days after releasing the photo of Bridge Guy, Indiana State Police hold another press conference in Delphi.
Liberty had the presence of mind to turn on her video camera. What you're about to hear is just 3 words. The audio quality is not superb, but there's enough there that somebody could recognize this person's voice. If you hear this today and you think, my God, that sounds like fill in the blank, call us. Micah, play the clip, please.
My initial thought was that is Satan's voice himself. I'm a very spiritual man, so that was my exact thought, that that's the devil himself speaking.
I remember very distinctly when they first played it that I couldn't understand it. I had no idea what they were saying.
It was all like computerized sounding.
And I think it was probably later that night or the next day that they had cleaned it up enough that you could hear the words.
And it was like, why?
But I remember thinking it didn't sound like he was, it seemed more like a conversation, not a demand. So it made it seem even more odd.
The short, cryptic message was both perplexing and terrifying in its cold, candid tone. And although it was only 3 words, police hoped someone would recognize the voice.
Did you spend time trying to figure out who that was?
I always do, subconsciously, yes. Yes, that voice is kind of ingrained. And when I first heard it, I actually listened to it several times. I just closed my eyes to really focus, see if I knew or recognized that voice. Unfortunately, I don't. I continue to listen to it, I still do today. It's always on my phone, you know, I can pull it up. But it frustrates me to hear that voice was the last voice that our girls heard, you know.
With the release of the audio clip and the admission by police that Libby had been recording audio at the time, everyone seemed to have a theory about what happened and how much more evidence might be on that recording.
A lot of the officers in the press conference we just saw seem very distraught. I have a feeling we're not hearing most of what they heard in that. What do you make of it?
I think there is probably more audio. It's entirely possible that although she was able to hit the video button, the phone was probably in her pocket. She wasn't going to have it out, or obviously the perpetrator could take it from her. The bottom line is there could be more audio. It might include some very traumatic audio that is very disturbing.
On the far side of the bridge, where the girls are thought to have been confronted, there is a hill that leads down toward a shallow section of the creek. And it is there, across the creek, where the bodies are found. It seemed like the pieces of the puzzle were coming together. And surely someone would recognize Bridge Guy with his image and his voice.
See it, to hear it.
Making shockwaves on TV and the internet.
I thought that they would find whoever it was really quickly, like somebody was gonna recognize him. You had to be somewhere close, and hours and turned into days and weeks and months.
But as much as it seemed like the investigation was stalling, police were working leads tirelessly.
We have full-time investigators that work on it every day.
Coming up in part 2 of Down the Hill, shocking new details in the investigation.
It left me wanting to know, what else did he say?
But do they get police any closer to catching the killer?
Is it fair to say there is a lot of physical evidence in this case?
New information that sets off a wave of paranoia in this small town.
Oh, that was terrible. I made so many people feel uncomfortable.
And a stunning new police press conference.
Extraordinary investigative efforts.
That will change everything.
I'm shaking right now.
New questions for police.
Is there more audio from him than what's been released? Do you have his DNA?
As we seek to unravel the mystery.
There's things that existed there at that crime scene that when the day comes, here's the story it's going to tell.
A new insight into the monster who killed Abby and Libby.
It's very high risk for the offender to kill someone outside. So that tells me this is an offender who's very tolerant of high risk.
All of that and more coming up. The final hour of Down the Hill, the Delphi murders, starts right now.